Women's Cave. What?
Yes, we did it together. I think we're a little more awake. Like, our guest today was so amazing, when she was like, we can do what we do. I was like, thank you. When my coffee hit, then that's amazing.
Like, your eyes are actually brown.
My eyes are brown.
They were called Sleepy Black.
They were Sleepy Black. I was just like, what day is it? Why am I here? What's the meaning to life? Like, I was doing all of it.
Bookstore was fun. We did 4 cities and 7 days. So
at school fault, that was Winona's fault. Because, Jay would have been like, can we do 2 cities in 7 days? And I can just sleep on in between and get me some sleep. No.
She wanted to go to the spa. That was, don't lie. That's why you wanted to do it. You like 2 days, so I could spend 2 days in the spa. No.
There's nothing. How do you think I keep this beautiful skin? Body.
Makeup. Anyway, oh, wow. That was a whole lot meaner than I'm in that to be.
I'm in shade. Like, that's how much shade I'm in. I'm in so much shade. I have books.
By the way, hold on. My name's Winona.
Oh, and I'm Jade.
And I'm professional today. Remember that.
Woo! That's never.
Now we have books.
Yeah, so we did the And I Throw It series, which I'm not going to do, you guys. Y'all know what it is. Like, and also we have an audiobook, And I Thought Divorce Was Bad, but like lessons, I will say that. And the Misfit Guides.
There's a 3rd one coming.
Maybe. Because you know how we got.
By June.
You know how we are, right? We say that we're going to do it, and then, like, it'll be December. But, whatever. It's our life. And the 25 hottest indie authors, artists, and advocates 2019. So, you guys, go ahead and pick up your copy. Do it digitally, save a lot of money.
Like, and a tree.
Okay? So it's only like $4.50 digitally, and it has really good articles about writing and tips in there also. So you can pick that up. And see who's on the
before you finish.
Well, no. Yes.
I just want to say,
may we help you?
Yes, you may. But I'm letting me say this one thing. Just Right in Life, our docu-series, has moved.
I was going to put it on in.
Okay, never mind. I'll let you
every time.
Every time.
Yeah, so you can check Just Letting Your Life out on Facebook and not Amazon, but you can just definitely check it out on Facebook, and you see what shenanigans we've been up to lately, because there are always shenanigans and whiskey. And no more. And
we have a movie coming out. Okay, go.
And
an important guest.
And you can check everything out on www.andwethought.com. I'm exasperated with Winona this morning, but we have an important guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
You ladies crack me up. I love this. I feel like we're besties and we've just met today. This is awesome. I'm Gabriela Pereira. I am the founder and instigator of DIY MFA, which is the do-it-yourself alternative to a master's degree in writing. Essentially, the thing that gets me up every morning, that gets me super excited to come to work in this very office, is to help writers get the knowledge without the college so they can get their stories out into the world and into the hands of their readers.
That's amazing. And
you can tell she's been doing this for a while.
Yes,
because that was just like so concise.
She said it like, yes, we love it. We love it. So knowledge without the college, how did that happen?
So it's funny you should ask it. There's actually a story to this particular tagline. So I was at the Writers Digest conference. This was back in 2012. I was 9 months pregnant to the day with my son. Literally the day after the conference was the day that my due date. Never mind that he was a week late, but at the time I thought I was going to go into labor halfway through the conference. But anyway, I remember I talked to my doctor. My doctor thought I was crazy to go, but since the conference was here in the city in New York, and the thing that convinced her was that the hospital was closer to the conference hotel than to my apartment. So it was actually a shorter taxi ride if I went into labor at the conference. This is the level of crazy that this is. But anyway, I'm at this conference, and one of the things that they do at the Writers Digest conference is they have this thing called a pitch slam, which is basically like speed dating for writers and agents. So they have agents and occasionally editors, and they sit sort of around the periphery of the room, and they each have their little tables, and then writers will line up at each agent, and you get 3 minutes to come in, tell them the idea for your book, and then they tell you if they want to see pages or if they like the idea, and it's sort of a foot in the door kind of thing. So I'm pitching the DIY MFA concept. Never mind, I hadn't actually written the book proposal yet or anything, but I figured what the heck, I'm about to have a kid. I might as well pitch it and see if there's even anything to this. So I remember at one point, and when you're 9 months pregnant to the day, not only is that a major conversation starter, you're not exactly a forgettable person in the audience. It also makes you a little bit cranky. So I was a very moody pregnant woman. I was like the kind of person who'd be like on the subway, like, get out of my way, because pregnant lady coming through. Anyway, I'm like talking to this one agent and I'm trying to explain the DIY MFA concept and she just isn't getting it. Bless her heart, but she just can't get it. I don't know what it was. We were like on different wavelengths or whatever. And at one point I'm like sitting at the table and I like hit the table because I was so frustrated. And I'm like, it's like the knowledge without the college. And she looks at me, she's like, yes, that's it. That is your tagline. That is the concept. That is how you're pitching it from now on. And so this was about halfway through the pitch slam. So all of the agents that I saw after that, I used that phrase. And by the end of the afternoon, back then they did the pitch slam for like 4 hours at a time, don't ask. But by the end of the afternoon, I was like, there's something to this. I guess it's my tagline. And it's actually still, to give you an idea of how much a pitch can lead to, it's on the back of the cover of the book. So there you have it. That's the story.
See the actual cover?
Yeah. We like to see the cover.
So this is the front, and then this is the back cover, and you can see, get the knowledge without the college.
Okay, I just wanted you to show the front so that people could buy it. That was the point.
We're all about on this
We're
show.
all about plugging your own stuff.
Yeah, we're about making money. Let's do it.
So I have to ask, what can writers expect to learn from this course?
So DIY MFA, it's to answer that question, I kind of need to backtrack a little bit and talk about sort of the fundamental philosophy of it. So when I started developing this concept, and it actually came to me right around graduation when I graduated from an MFA program. So I'd had this wonderful experience, and then I wanted to like sustain that education beyond the graduation day. So I was doing a lot of research, looking at not just how my MFA experience had been, but also what other MFA programs, how they kind of build their curriculum out. And what I noticed were the sort of three fundamental components. You write a lot of stuff, you read a lot of stuff, and then you talk about a lot of reading and writing stuff. Like it's basically those three components. And essentially what it boiled down to was writing with focus, reading with purpose, and building community, which are the three sort of pillars of DIY MFA. Now, once I developed that, like once I had those categories, I wanted to think about not just how these things were being tackled in an MFA context, but what I wanted to add to that, what I wanted to do to enrich it, to maybe lift it up even beyond what someone might get in a traditional program. So one of the things that I looked for were, what were the holes? What were the gaps that I wish I had things that I wish I'd learned, but I hadn't had the chance to learn it. So in the writing component, one of the things I noticed was that there was a big focus on workshopping your writing. And now don't get me wrong, workshopping is a great skill. It's a great tool. The problem, I think, is that a lot of traditional MFA programs and a lot of typical writing classes that you go to are all about, you write something, people read it, they tell you what's wrong, you fix it. The problem with that approach is that it's retroactive learning. You are learning by not doing it right to begin with. You're learning it by being told what's wrong, as opposed to knowing what some of those fundamental principles are, those fundamental, I hesitate to use the word rules, but sort of the basics. And then you can kind of break them artfully. So one of the things that at DIY MFA we really focus on is proactive learning. Let's learn the tools. Let's learn the skills. One of the things that is sort of one of my superpowers is taking really complex, somewhat abstract ideas in literature and boiling them down into models and images. So how can we turn something into like a Venn diagram or make it very easy for people to understand how the things work? So it's not about making things formulaic, but of giving people a structure to understand the writing component. So that's the first piece, is the focus, shifting that focus from retroactive learning in a workshop setting to more proactive learning that you can then supplement with workshopping later on to refine those skills. Then in the community side of things, one of the things that I thought was missing was the issue of the publishing, the know-how on how to navigate the industry, how to build a career. One of the things that I had experienced in the MFA program, I personally didn't have this problem because I was in you know, how in MFAs, they sort of have like majors. They have like fiction, you have poetry. I was in the writing for children major, as it were. And so what that meant was because we were a very small group, there was only about 10 of us out of a class of maybe 100 in our grade, as it were, in the MFA. We kind of had our own, we did our own thing. So the professors were actually really good in our division about bringing agents in to talk to us, talking to us about our platforms and about building our audience and talking to our readers. That we got that. The problem was I had friends who were in the fiction division or the poetry division who weren't getting that. And they were kind of jealous, and they'd be like, I wish we had that. And so that was one of the things I realized, like, if I'm going to have my own version of an MFA, I want to build that publishing piece in. So really focusing not just on community in sort of the sense of like going to readings and being a good literary citizen, but also understanding the pragmatics of how the business works and how to treat your writing like a career as opposed to just a hobby. So that is one of that in the business, in the build your community component, the business element is something that we really focus in on. And then finally, in the reading part, one of the things that I noticed was that in the MFA program, and I also have an undergraduate degree in English, there was a lot of emphasis on sort of reading things that were very lofty and sort of like, you know, people would sit around arguing about like, you know, how many angels dance on the head of a pin, kind of like ridiculous, asinine ideas. And we weren't talking about how to apply the literature to our own writing. We'd argue about like, you know, what does the author mean and all of that stuff, but we weren't actually saying like, okay, when that writer did this specific thing on page 272, how can I now do a similar technique and apply it to my own work? And so one of the things that I focus on a lot at DIY MFA is unpacking that reading, but really with an eye towards reapplying the concept to your own work. It's not enough to just understand how someone else's writing works. We have to take that extra step and figure out how we're going to apply it to our own work. That's the game-changing element.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I mean, as you did all of that, I know you probably have your hands in so many different things. So what are the things that you have, other things that you have your hands in besides the DIY MFA?
Well, to be honest, DIY MFA is kind of all consuming. So we have, I mean, in terms of like my work life, my writing life, that's pretty much the thing. I mean, I've got some fiction projects that I'm working on, but I can't really talk about those or else I'll jinx them. But with DIY MFA, there's so many different components, right? Because we've got our podcasts, we teach courses. For a while, I was on the speaking circuit, so I could totally relate to the whole 4 cities in 7 days thing. I remember, when was it? I think it was 2017. It wasn't in 4 cities, but it was definitely in 2 separate states and I think 3 separate cities and like 9 speaking gigs in 7 days. Like it was insane. Like there were days where I was doing 2 speaking gigs and I was like losing my mind. So like I totally get the whole, like the speaking thing is also, it kind of ebbs and flows. There are points where when you have a book out that you need to like do more, and then other times when you do less of it. And then, of course, just like continuing to grow the business and think about how DIY MFA can be a sustainable business in the long term. One of the big challenges I've run into is I'm kind of a control freak. I think a lot of writers are. This is why we like to write things so that we can control what happens. And so for me, it's really hard to let go of things and let go of that control. So one of the big challenges that I've had to start learning as a business owner, as a business like leader, is to be able to pull myself out of the business so that if I'm not there, things continue to run and things continue to grow. Not that I expect that I will ever leave DIY MFA, but it's like, if it's all dependent on me, then it's not a sustainable business model because I could get hit by a Mack truck while I'm crossing Broadway for all I know.
That's hilarious. Recently, Winona and I had that conversation like a year ago. I was like, not saying anything bad's going to happen to you, but like, what happens if you're like unconscious and in a coma for a week? I don't even know the password. Like, we need to have a conversation. Like, you know, I just want to know the passwords, man. I just want to know the passwords.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you say that. This was back in 2016 at RWA, the Romance Writers Conference, and there was a session where the person leading it was talking about this very thing. Like, estate planning is really important as a writer, even if you don't, like, obviously we're not planning on dying tomorrow, but like, your copyright outlives you by 75 years. That is a long time. And so you need to make sure that like people have the passwords they need, and that, things like that are in place, because who knows, like, stuff happens in life. So yeah, I had never thought of that. And like, I felt sort of morbid in this session, but also I felt very productive, because I was like, now I know what I need to do.
Right. Because I mean, as we're young, so we're like, we're invincible, nothing will ever happen to us. But just in case, I was like, let me just get all these passwords. I'll just write them down and stick them in the safe. And if nothing ever happens, when we're 75, we'll be kicking back, hopefully drinking some martinis and laughing about the day that I put this in my daggone safe.
I can't believe I've been this quiet and
I know. Winona.
Anyway, so I want to take Jade's place today and ask, where can people find you and what's next?
So people can find me at DIYMFA.com. Basically what's next is, well, there's always next. We're constantly running courses. So right now we just started our 101, which is our flagship course. And then we'll be reopening it again in the fall in September. In the meantime, I'm doing a massive course rebuild. Every couple of years, I rebuild one of our programs from the ground up, and we completely revamp it. This year, it's our marketing course that's getting a complete facelift. And so that hopefully will be ready and out by the end of this year or beginning of 2020. And then, of course, I've got a couple of book proposals in the hands of, one of them's in the hands of my agent. The other one hasn't been written yet. It's just like in my brain. But I can't really talk about it too much, because again, I worry about jinxing it, but at the same time, but suffice to say, I'm really, really excited for these projects. So it's good stuff.
Yes. We actually going to pick those up. Oh, okay, so you guys, let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up on our end. We're going to
that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love.
Love you guys. From Winona with a manicure that is slowly fading, but believe me, I had it done for the awards.
And Jade. Bye-bye.